जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रजजनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रजजनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रजजनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रजजनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी ओम अज्ञानाति जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य बीबीटी फाउंडर आचार्य जगत गुरु सेवियर ऑफ द होल वर्ल्ड पतित पावन श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की एवं विश्वपाद परमहंस साक्षात वैराग्य मूर्ति गौर किशोरदास बाबाजी महाराज की जय ओम विश्वपाद परमहंस सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की शीला भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर तिरोभाव महोत्सव की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्र माय सुदर्शन श्री श्री गौर निताय की हरिनाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवता सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने. What is that? गौरशक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगवरायते. Hare Krishna. So today we will be reading about Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Bhaktivinoda Thakura is the Acharya who is the father of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is in turn the guru of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura was born in the year 1838, February 6th. Born on February 6th, 1874. Sorry. It's actually the appearance day of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakura appeared in the year 1838, September 2nd, in a place called Birpur. September 2nd, 1838. That is the time when Bhaktivinoda Thakura was born. Bhaktivinoda Thakura was born into a very rich aristocratic Zamindar family. Very, very opulent, very rich aristocratic family. Bhaktivinoda Thakura's family history, it is available or it is documented for several generations. And they were great Vaishnavas, they were great Zamindars, and they were great philosophers. They were also great philanthropists. So into such a glorious family, Bhaktivinoda Thakura was born. Bhaktivinoda Thakura was some kind of a child genius, child prodigy. From the time he appeared, 1838. It is said that he wrote his first poem when he was 2 years old. When he was 2 years old, he wrote his first poem. And then, later on, Bhaktivinoda Thakura is also known to be a scholar in many languages. Bengali, English, Sanskrit, Urdu and Persian. He learned Urdu and Persian also. And Bhaktivinoda Thakura has written in all these languages, including in Urdu and in Persian language also. So, obviously it was not some ordinary birth that he had, Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Bhakti Siddhanta, his son, writes about Bhaktivinoda Thakura. And also many of the subsequent Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas have written extensively about Bhaktivinoda Thakura. And by the way, it's interesting that Bhaktivinoda Thakura wrote an autobiography, his own life story also he has written. He's written an autobiography, and many great Acharyas have commented about Bhaktivinoda Thakura, have written about him. Just as there is this huge voluminous book called Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava, written by His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, a 3-volume compendium. Similarly, Bhaktivinoda Thakura also, there is extensive writings. Bhaktivinoda Thakura is no ordinary scholar or no ordinary devotee. In his lifetime, he wrote 100 books. And he also wrote a set of poems. There are published under 4 titles. They are called Sharanagati, Gitamala, Gitavali and Kalyana Kalpataru. These are the 4, he has grouped them under 4 books. Sharanagati, Padyavali, Gitamala, Gitavali. Sharanagati, Gitamala, Gitavali and Kalyana Kalpataru. I think the total number of songs that he has written are probably hundreds of them. What we have recovered, maybe much more than what he has written, but a few hundreds is what we have recovered from the writings of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Bhaktivinoda Thakura wrote extensively in Bengali and also he wrote in English. Bhaktivinoda Thakura wrote that famous book, Sri Chaitanya, Life and Precepts, which was couriered or which was shipped to various universities in different parts of the world. That is about Lord Chaitanya and his teachings. And by a strange coincidence, Bhaktivinoda Thakura wrote this book and sent it in the year 1896, the very same year in which His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada was born. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur had already sent his books, and it's 1896. Many years later, devotees recovered some of these books in the McGill University in Canada. They found that original book that was shipped by Bhaktivinoda Thakura into the university, and a few other universities also they found. So way back in those days itself, Bhaktivinoda Thakura wrote these books and sent them to different countries. But when Bhaktivinoda Thakura appeared, it was a very different situation, in the sense that when the immediate followers of Lord Chaitanya passed away, that is, Lord Chaitanya passed away, he lived only for 48 years, and after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed away in the early 15th century, Lord Chaitanya passed away, and his immediate followers passed away. That is, I'm talking about those like Swarup Goswami, the 6 Goswamis, Rup Sanatan, Jiva, Raghunath Das, Raghunath Bhatta, Gopal Bhatta Goswami. They all passed away very soon because of lack of sustained propagation of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. It is said that by the time Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy was already completely degraded. It was already corrupted completely. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke about bhakti, harinam, chanting of the holy name, reading Bhagavatam. Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke about pure bhakti, as different from the bhakti that is preached in other paramparas also. But because of a lack of a strong spokesperson or a representative of this philosophy, very soon it came to be corrupted. And by the time Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared, there were 13 apasampradayas, which means they pretended to be the original followers of the original Lord Chaitanya, but their philosophy had nothing to do with the original philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. 13 apasampradayas, which means they are externally pretending to be followers of Lord Chaitanya, but philosophically there was nothing in common between what they were teaching and what the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed 350 years before Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared. Hence they are called apasampradayas. They appear like carrying forward the parampara of Lord Chaitanya, but philosophically they are not. So there were 13 apasampradayas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur did research on all these 13 apasampradayas and wrote about the characteristics of each of this apasampradaya. In other words, he said the aula, the baula, and so on. Those 13 apasampradayas, where is it they have gone wrong in their understanding of Lord Chaitanya's teachings? So he categorized them into 13 buckets, or shall we say 13 distinct categories. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote extensively in trying to establish the correct understanding. He wrote very extensively. Besides writing these 100 books, over 100 books, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also started that magazine called Sajjana Toshani. He continued publishing that magazine for quite some time. It is also said that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, what is popularly known as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, set up a printing press, and he used the name Bruhat Mridanga to indicate Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadramai, Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. So but it is interesting to note that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, way back, much before Bhakti Siddhanta had done, he had also set up a printing press. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had set up a printing press way back in the early mid 19th century. 1838 means, you can imagine, maybe 20-30 years after that. He had set up a printing press. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that if you were to examine the Vedic, the scriptures, especially the qualities of a Vaishnava, if you were to examine the qualities of a Vaishnava and the kind of mercy, the kind of krupa a Vaishnava shows, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had said that a Vaishnava can show 9 different ways of mercy. I could not get that 9. just didn't have the time to look into that. But Bhakti Siddhanta says that there are 9 different ways in which an Acharya, a Paramahamsa, a great devotee, shows his mercy, or shall we say, compassion towards the devotees. And Bhakti Siddhanta says that you can see that Bhaktivinoda Thakura gave out his mercy in all these 9 ways. In all these 9 ways. I guess it must be he wrote writing books and holding discourses and like that. I don't know exactly. We have to do some study in that. Another important contribution of Bhaktivinoda Thakura is that, see, one side, the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya was almost lost because there were 13 apasampradayas, all mixed up, bogus, false philosophy was being presented in the name of Lord Chaitanya. The other thing is that even the place where Lord Chaitanya was born was apparently lost. Nobody knew exactly where Lord Chaitanya was born. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura is credited with not only rediscovering the place where Lord Chaitanya appeared, but also re-establishing his philosophy. He rediscovered the place where he appeared and re-established his philosophy in a very, very strong and a forceful way. Very strong and forceful way. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura is credited with having revived Lord Chaitanya's teachings and having not only revived, having researched, protected, preserved and presented the original teachings of Lord Chaitanya. It is said that by the time Bhaktivinoda Thakura appeared, even the original copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita was difficult to obtain. There weren't too many copies available. And with great efforts, Bhaktivinoda, and for that matter, it is said that even the original Srimad Bhagavatam text was also not available easily. So it is said that Bhaktivinoda Thakura, because he was also a district magistrate, first he was a district magistrate, first time he became a district magistrate, some part of Bengal. Subsequently, he became the district magistrate in Puri, Jagannath. And then when he went back to Bengal, he was there in Puri only for about 5 years in his original stay. 5 years he stayed, 1869 to 1874. And it is during that year, in 1874, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura was born. So when he went back to Bengal, that's when he became the district magistrate under the British rule. And so using his connections and extensive network of government servants, he had different places searched. And finally, in one old dilapidated printing press in some part of Calcutta or something, in an old, almost dismantled printing press, he was able to lay his hands on the original copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam also. And so he retrieved both these copies, preserved them, and then he also wrote Chaitanya Shikshamrita. That's one of the books that he wrote. But historically, in the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we have to understand that there is nobody who can compare to the contribution of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. There's nobody. We can't compare anybody in our parampara to the contribution of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Here was a parampara that was almost lost. Not only was it lost, but it was being misrepresented, wrongly presented by 13 different apasampradayas. He had to research into them. See, those days it was not so easy. He had to research into them and he had to write where have they gone wrong based on the original teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Where have they gone wrong? And he had to establish and convince the people that these are apasampradayas. They have to be discarded. And here is what I am preaching, which is the original teaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, like I said, he was responsible for discovery of Lord Chaitanya's birthplace, also responsible for the revival of the original teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he taught them. See, otherwise it was taught in 1870s and 1880s. It was thought that Sri Chaitanya was a mystic. Mystic means somebody who cannot be understood completely. He was just some mystic, strange mystic. Mystic also means someone who has some extraordinary powers. But he was never regarded as an incarnation of the Lord, nor was he regarded as a philosopher. So mystic means, he says, he just acts on an impulse and like that. He was considered as a great mystic only. But Bhaktivinoda Thakura corrected that understanding by establishing the philosophy, theology, and the precepts of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there is a comment, there's a commentary on the Jaiva Dharma. Jaiva Dharma is supposed to be one of the most scholarly books of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Jaiva Dharma. It runs into 1,000 pages. It's the story of an inquisitive inquirer and his journey through different levels of spiritual understanding. Some inquirer, some serious inquirer wants to, he's exploring spiritual truth. So he goes from one level of understanding about God, about Paramatma, then about the opulence of the Lord, then he's called the Gopakumara. Then finally, ultimately reaches the highest levels of understanding as revealed by Lord Chaitanya. It's a masterpiece. It's a theological masterpiece. What happens in Jaiva Dharma is that this Gopakumara is making inquiries. This person is making inquiries. And a lot of those discussions, through the discussions, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is establishing. So, what is Brahmavada? What is Mayavada? What is Advaitavada? What is Paramatma? Like that, different levels he's taking. But what is the commentary about Jaiva Dharma? It is written that the lucid style in which Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote that book, though it's actually a dry, it can be considered as a dry philosophical treatise. It's like somebody were to write, let's say you do a research into chemistry, biochemistry or organic chemistry, and how you blend different products, different items, different things, and then something else happens, something else comes. You can't make it appear or read like something exciting. But Bhaktivinoda Thakura, it is said that he wrote this book, Jaiva Dharma, in such an interesting way and presented the philosophy that was there in such a very, very interesting way that it reads like a novel, like a modern day novel. And it is also said that in the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he also incorporates, or he also presents where, let us say, Christianity or the Islam stand vis-a-vis the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. In the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes. It's very strange, but when he was still very young, when he was just 25 years old, in one town where he was living, there was a huge dispute between the Brahma Samajvadis, and the Christianity in that town. They were clashing. They were saying, I'm better than you, like that. And they came to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was just barely 25 years old then, and asked him, this is the confusion we are having, can you resolve it? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote a treatise on Christianity and also on Brahma Samaj, and showed neither of you is perfect. Neither of you are perfect. Isn't your way off the mark? And they accepted. So, even in those days, in theological debates and discussion, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was outstanding. Not only was he an outstanding scholar, it is also said that he was very strangely, he was very empowered. Empowered means here is somebody who can do something extraordinary, beyond the ordinary. Imagine at the age of 2, he wrote his first poem. At the age of 4, he had finished reading the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And then it is said that at the age of 6, not at the age of 4, at the age of 6, he had finished learning the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, and he could delineate on the bhakti aspects of this book, which means not just learning. He could explain the philosophy behind different things that have happened in Mahabharata and Ramayana. Not just sometimes you tell this story to your children will also repeat it. Children of some age can repeat what they heard. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur was different. He could delineate, which means he could explain the philosophical reasoning behind different things that happen in the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. From a bhakti school, he could explain to people. At the age of 9, he started researching into astrology astrological texts and philosophy. Astrological texts and philosophy is considered extremely challenging because it involves a lot of calculations and it involves a lot of great deal of research has to be done. If the Ketu is in this house, if the Rahu is in this house, what could be its impact, and why like that, and why not something else like that? So at the age of 9, he was already researching into astrological books. Bhaktivinoda Thakura. See, all this is being done, all this is being documented just to show he was not an ordinary soul. He must have been a soul sent by Lord Chaitanya to revive his philosophy. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshyo vidu. The philosophy of Lord Chaitanya that Krishna so painstakingly came and presented, revealed to the world, is already forgotten. Then 13 apasampradayas are there. So it is said that Lord Chaitanya sent Bhaktivinoda Thakura to re-establish his rightful teachings. So at the age of 9, he was already reading and researching into astrology. And at the age of 10, he started making very serious inquiries about spiritual truth and spiritual life and bhakti. Very serious inquiries, which means he was I mean, at the age of 10, typically children are playful, etc., like that. But he was already making serious spiritual inquiries at the age of 10. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakura also mentions in his autobiography certain incidents that happened in his life which transformed him, which made him a much more deeper thinker. Bhaktivinoda Thakura's autobiography has the story of his encounter with a carpenter, with a Muslim security guard that was employed in his house, and also with his own uncle. It is said that the carpenter was making deities of Devis and selling them during the Durga Puja time. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura asked him, so you're making these deities and you're selling them. They're only, to me, they appear like dolls. So what's so special about them? Then the carpenter will say it is special because they are special because they depict Devi, Durga, Kali, Durga. In Bengal, it's very famous. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, no, that's not what I'm asking. How is this deity form or your form that you're making, which is made up of wood and this and that, how does it acquire divinity? How does it acquire divinity? Then the carpenter is confused. He says, no, nobody has asked me a question like this before. How does a wooden form acquire divinity? Where does divinity come from? The carpenter is not really able to explain very clearly. But he says, the carpenter eventually tells Bhaktivinoda Thakura that, listen, there's only one God, okay? There's one God called Bhagavan. All these are devatas. All these devatas images are made because these Brahmins use them to make money. The carpenter tells the Brahmins use them to keep them, do some kind of worship to make money. And then this set Bhaktivinoda Thakura think, because he narrates this in his autobiography, and then he meets he talks to a Muslim security guard who's employed in his house. He goes and asks, so what is the teachings of Quran? So that security guard will tell whatever he knows. He says there is Rahim, Allah, etc. Allah is there, Rahim is there. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakura asks him, what's the difference between Rahim and Ram? Young boy, 10-year-old or 8-year-old boy, he asks him, so what's the difference between Rahim and Ram? And that carpenter and that security guard apparently seems like he was a well-read, well-versed person. He says, there's no difference. Whom you call Ram, we refer to him as Rahim. There's only one God. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I was very pleased to hear that. When you were still a young kid, when you were still a very young kid. And then he had an uncle who was a great devotee. But at some point of time, he came under the influence of what is known as this Brahmo Samaj. Brahmo Samaj was very influential society in Bengal at those times. Rajaram Mohan Roy, Brahmo Samaj, Arya Samaj, something like that. Some weird philosophy they had. So suddenly his uncle stopped being a devotee of the Lord, started following Rajaram Mohan Roy and then Brahma Samaj. And Bhaktivinoda Thakura was very surprised. He said, why did this happen? Why didn't he find pleasure, happiness in being a devotee? What is it? What went wrong? How did he change? Why did he change? How did he change? So Bhaktivinoda Thakura started inquiring into these philosophies, and then he wrote a paper. Yeah, he writes a paper pointing out all the faults, whatever spiritual inaccuracies, wrongs of the Brahma Samaj understanding. He wrote a paper. So that set him thinking very deeply on making him investigate as to what is where is the real truth. But Bhaktivinoda Thakura says that right from the time he was conscious, maybe 4 years, 5 years or something, right from the time he was conscious, from the time he started making his original spiritual inquiries, something inspired him, and he said he never gave up chanting the names of the Lord. He never gave up chanting. That means even while he was talking to his carpenter or the security or thinking about his uncle or reading the Ramayana or the Mahabharata or doing astrological study, he never gave up the practice of chanting the names of God. Doesn't really say when it started, but he says more or less when I became conscious, as long as I can remember from my childhood, I started chanting the names of Lord Ram. He specifically says Lord Ram, chanting the names of Lord. And so it is said that they compare it with something that happened in Lord Chaitanya's life. In Lord Chaitanya's life, when Lord Chaitanya was running a school, at some point of time when he was running a school, he had students and then he was trying to explain logic and tarka and different philosophies, etc. When he was explaining different philosophies, at one point of time, Lord Chaitanya folded all those books, tied them up, kept them in one corner and said, let's simply chant the names of God. That's enough. Now, similar thing, Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he emphasized the process of chanting in his life. Now, when Lord Chaitanya did that, the Acharyas explained that Lord Chaitanya is showing that this is the most important of all principles. It is to chant the holy name. And there is, in our parampara, we go by revelation. That means the revealed word of God, we understand about Krishna, about Bhakti, by reading the revealed word of God, which means Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam, which are words of God, or like that. So, and chanting. So, chanting qualifies us to understand the revelation. By chanting, we become qualified to understand Bhakti. By chanting. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is emphasizing the importance of Bhakti. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is emphasizing the importance of chanting the names of God as a process that has to continue right through your life, even while you're reading the scripture. Because by chanting, you become more qualified to understand the scripture more correctly. More correctly. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura says, I never gave up the chanting of names of the Lord. Same as in the case of Lord Chaitanya. And then it is also said that Bhakti Siddhanta says, all the qualities of a pure devotee you can see in Bhaktivinoda Thakura. And he displays these qualities right through his life. And Bhakti Siddhanta says, a genuine, serious Mahajana, great devotee of the Lord, should be simple, should be humble, should be well-read, should be thoughtful, should be scholarly, should be kind, should be compassionate, should have a spirit of surrender to Krishna, should be worshipping the Vaishnavas, should be hankering to live in a place associated with the pastimes of the Lord. Bhaktivedanta says that a serious seeker of the truth or a bhakta will also be a poet. Will also become a poet eventually, a writer and a poet. So Bhaktivedanta points out that all these qualities you could see in Bhaktivinoda Thakura right through his life, including that of being a poet. And it is said that Bhaktivinoda Thakura, it is said that a pure devotee relishes reading the Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. It is said that when Bhaktivinoda Thakura was living in Puri Jagannath for 5 years, he would go to the Chaitanya Vallabha garden and he started something known as Chaitanya Bhakta Bhratru Samaj or something, much before the start of Gaudiya Math. He would go there every evening. He would invite important devotees from living in Puri at that point of time to come and give pravachans. So this daily evening pravachan thing started from mid-19th century, mid-1800s. They would all gather, and Bhaktivinoda Thakura would invite different scholars, not just scholars, different devotees, and they would discuss Bhagavatam. They would discuss Bhagavatam way back in those days. So, and very interestingly, Jiva Goswami writes that of the 5 principles given by Lord Chaitanya, chanting, living in a holy place, worshipping the deities, associating with Vaishnavas, and reading Bhagavatam, Jiva Goswami says reading the Bhagavatam is one of the most important among the 5. Bhagavatam means understanding about Krishna, knowing about Krishna, understanding about Krishna. Because otherwise, whatever bhakti we do is only sentimental. That means it's not backed up. It doesn't have a foundation of scriptural understanding, and it's very easy to change. We may give up easily because we don't have a proper scriptural understanding. So, Jiva Goswami said you have to, while you're doing bhakti, while you're doing sadhana, Bhagavatam study has to go on, because that reinforces your faith in Krishna. That solidifies, reinforces, strengthens your faith in Krishna. But at the same time, when you read the Bhagavatam, it also takes you to higher and higher levels of spiritual perfection. Takes you to higher and higher levels of service and spiritual perfection. So it is said that in the 5 years when Bhaktivinoda Thakura was living in Puri, in the 5 years that he was living, first time when he was living there, he had accumulated. He had brought together practically all the books. By that time, he had found different other books also. The books of the 6 Goswamis, books of Jiva Goswami called the Sandarbhas, Govinda Bhashya, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And it is said that though he was the district magistrate, actually he was in charge of the Jagannath temple, taking care of the Jagannath temple. He would spend a substantial amount of time reading these books. It's also famous, I didn't write it down today and to share with you, how he would live. In a given day, he would sleep for 3 or 3.5 hours, that's all. Total sleep would be 3.5, maybe 4 hours. Rest of the time, but he would space it, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, middle of the day, 15 minutes, afternoon, half an hour this, half an hour in the night, and get up again, write or research or read, and then again sleep. So 4 hours, he would space it out. He was also like, Prabhupada was a bit like him. Bhaktivinoda Thakura also would stay up practically all night, reading, researching, writing, more or less like Srila Prabhupada was. So, Bhakti Siddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he after his tenure in Puri, volunteered. He wanted to go back to Bengal. It is said that after he came to Bengal, then he was there in a few places, and finally he took a transfer to Krishna Nagar. So he lived there in Krishna Nagar for a substantial period of time. And Krishna Nagar, when he was working in the Krishna Nagar as a district magistrate, he used to live in a place called Swarupganj. Swarupganj is just on the banks of, what's that river called? Jalangi, Ganga Jalangi, banks of Jalangi. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur liked that little building that he saw. So that building is today known as the Surabhi, it's known as, he first originally lived in the Surabhi Kunj. And then he took over. Then he took another place called Swananda Sukhada Kunja. So he first lived in Surabhi Kunj, then later went on to another place which he established in Swarupganj. So while he was there, he extensively researched into other places in the Navadvip Dham. Because one time when he was sleeping in the night, he had a revelation that he should go back to the Navadvip Dham and rediscover all places connected with Lord Chaitanya's pastime. So he took that as an order from a divine order, and then relocated from Puri to Navadvip Dham. Though he loved staying in Puri. Puri, he was some superintendent of the Jagannath Mandir, Purushottam Kshetra. He lived there. And it was just a few hundred meters, or less than 100 meters from the Puri temple. He had his building there. He lived there. And that is where Bhakti Siddhanta was born, on the Grand Trunk Road, the road in which the Rath Yatra happens. But having got this revelation, he shifts back to Navadvip. And it's said that after he goes to Navadvip, he rediscovers the place of Lord Chaitanya's, birthplace. And then he wrote very, very extensively. Now the thing about Bhaktivinoda Thakura is one book that he wrote called Kalpataru. What is it called? Kalyana Kalpataru. It's a very special book. Way back in the late 1800s, he wrote this book. This book gives a whole technology. He speaks about the whole technology for preaching. And that is what is adapted and taught as the Bhaktivinoda format of preaching. He called it the Namahatta. Bhaktivinoda Thakur coined the name Namahatta. Namahatta has become immortalized thanks to Iskcon. Iskcon, Prabhupada repeatedly. Namahatta means a market where the holy name is sold. Just as you have a market, you can buy mangoes and apples and flowers and fruits and whatever you. So this is the name in which he sold the holy name. This is the market in which he sold the holy name. It's called the Namahatta. Hatta means market. But in the ordinary market, you would pay money. You pay coins or money or something. But in the Namahatta marketplace that Bhaktivinoda Thakura envisaged, it is a market run by Nityananda, Lord Nityananda. So if you want the holy name, you pay for it by faith. This is something very unique. You pay for it by your faith. Yes, I'm going to chant the holy name. I have faith in the holy name. Then you are immediately given the holy name. Bhakti Nityananda gives the holy name. You buy the holy name, or you get blessed by the holy name, or you receive the holy name by paying in faith. Namahatta. You don't have to pay money. You don't have to pay money in cash, kind, anything. You get the holy name by faith. So, and then he gave a whole technology of how preaching has to go on. Small groups, then little bigger group. Then what do these small groups do? How often they meet? What do they discuss when they meet? And then what happens once in a while? How they, all these different small groups meet together. And he personally, Bhaktivinoda Thakura did, when he built the Yoga Peeth, the first temple at the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is said that Bhaktivinoda Thakura personally went house to house, door to door, collected donations. And he said that I don't want one person to give a lot of money. I would rather collect it from a lot of people, small amounts of money from many people. And I want this to be built. I want this to be known as a project of the people, project of the devotees, and not funded by one particular individual, and hence it will be known by his name or whatever. No, it is done by the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, each one giving some small contribution. It said that Bhaktivinoda Thakur would personally go and collect such contributions. He would personally go and collect, and he built. And that's why in the Yoga Peeth Center, you have a Bhajan Kutir of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. They keep his murti and they worship him to this day. It is said that the Gaudiya Vaishnavas of modern day should be completely indebted to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because there is his contributions to reviving the teachings of Lord Chaitanya are incomparable. So much so that the opinion of the common people of Bengal about Lord Chaitanya changed completely after Bhaktivinoda Thakur started preaching. And then it was carried forward by his son, Vimala Prasad, also known as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So it is said that when he was in Orissa for some time, he wrote his first book on, what is that first book? One of the first books that he wrote when he was in Orissa. Yes, he wrote a book called Chaitanya Gita. He wrote a book called Chaitanya Gita when he was serving in some other part of Orissa, not Puri. And he used a pen name for himself. He used the name Sachidananda. He used the pen name Sachidananda. And that's when he wrote that book called Chaitanya Gita, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Like that he wrote. And subsequently, when he was still in Orissa, that time, after looking at his contributions to revival of Lord Chaitanya's teachings, looking at his contributions, respecting his contribution when he was still very young, 40, 44 or 45 years of age. That time there was no Gaudiya Math, there was no Iskcon, there was no Gaudiya Math, there was no Chaitanya Gaudiya Math. There was something called the Gaudiya's Bhakta Samaj or something like that. They looked at his writings, his depth of scholarliness, his way of presenting Lord Chaitanya, his understanding of Lord Chaitanya's philosophy, his understanding of Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the way so effectively he is presenting, so scholarly he is presenting, and they give him the title Bhaktivinoda. And then that is how Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakura came to be his name. Sachidananda is a name that he used, a pen name. He wrote under that name. But Gaudiya Samaja of those days gave him the title Bhaktivinoda. It's called the Gaudiya Sangha. And when did they give? They gave this name, Bhaktivinoda, on the 400th appearance anniversary of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That means it is something like 1886. 1886, 400th year anniversary of Lord Chaitanya's appearance. They gave the title Bhaktivinoda to his name, his previous name was Kedarnath Datta. They gave him this title Bhaktivinoda. That's when Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakura name became more prominent. When he was in Bengal also, subsequently he started a group called Bhakta Samaj. Like he had a group in the Puri Jagannath temple. Every day in the evening they would gather, and so he floated. So he is the forerunner, precursor to this organized mutt concept where people get together, live only to hear Lord Chaitanya's teachings, live by those teachings, propagate those teachings. So he did that twice. He did it in Puri, he did it in Bengal also. And he made groups. Subsequently, his son Bhakti Siddhanta started the Chaitanya Mutt, or shall we say the Gaudiya Mutt, as per the inspiration of his father Bhaktivinoda Thakura. So then after Gaudiya Mutts were started, then Prabhupada carried forward this mission in the name of Iskcon. So you could say, we can trace it back to Bhaktivinoda Thakura's first attempts to form a Samaj of devotees. And it is the first attempts of Bhaktivinoda Thakura to preach also. Because he set up this Namahatta. He wrote this book, Udruma Kalpatavi, where he gives the whole method in which we can preach. And Bhaktivinoda Thakura says that there was a time when, after Lord Chaitanya, during the time of Lord Chaitanya, when Nityananda and Haridas were preaching in Bengal, practically everybody were chanting the holy name. There was nobody who was not chanting. In fact, at one time they go back and report to Lord Chaitanya saying, everybody is chanting. Lord Chaitanya becomes very pleased. Everybody is chanting. So, Nityananda had already started preaching. So, it is that missionary preaching mood that is carried forward by Bhaktisiddhanta and Prabhupada. Missionary preaching mood, which was originally created by Nityananda and Haridas Thakura, and which was spoken about by Bhaktivinoda Thakura. And he did it too. It is said that he also personally would visit many Namahatta centers, give classes, encourage, and he had set up a whole infrastructure for Namahatta preaching during his time, and all of them would go and report to him. So Godruma Kalpatavi is a book which says, how do you manage a huge conglomerate which is having preaching in different villages, different towns, and how all of them gather together and give a report. What should be the behavior standards of the member? What should be the standards for a leader? What should be the standards for the leader of the leaders and a higher leader, like that? What should be the standard of, behavior, conduct, everything? So Bhaktivinoda Thakura wrote about the sadhana standards way back in the 1880s and so on. And it is said that during that time when he was in Bengal, that Bhaktivinoda Thakura made his first visit to Vrindavan. And those days he went to Vrindavan by train, late 1880s or 1890s. It says that he took a train, it went to Prayagraj, that is Kashi, Prayagraj, and a few other places. Finally went to Mathura. Then he visited, then he stayed there, and then he came back. So first he made what is known as the Bhakta Samaj. Then when he was in Puri, he made something known as Bhagavata Sansat. He gave them different names also. In Bengal, he called them something. But when he was in Puri, when he was doing that, he called it the Bhagavad Sansat, which means where they sit down and discuss the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in 1882, when he was in Calcutta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was in Kolkata, it is said that he laid the foundation of the first Gaudiya Math in 1882. He wanted to build a temple of Lord Chaitanya and Radha Krishna in Kolkata. It is said that, so the first organized effort at having a temple was done by Bhaktivinoda Thakura. And it is said that at the place where he was digging to build a temple in 1882, that place is still mentioned. It's properly documented where it is, Bhavanipur, something is there. Some address, precise address, location is also researched and found out. When he was digging, he found a murti of Kurma avatar in the earth. He said that he retrieved that murti of Kurma and he consecrated that murti and he gave the murti to Bhakti Siddhanta and teaching Bhakti Siddhanta what is the way in which he has to worship. So he gave that murti to Bhakti Siddhanta. I don't know where that murti is now, but he gave it to Bhakti Siddhanta and asked him to carry on the worship of this murti. And it is approximately during the year 1882 or so, when he was living in Calcutta, that is the time when he first visited Mayapur. That is when he got a transfer to Krishnanagar and started staying in Krishnanagar. That is the time he started visiting Mayapur. And then it is that famous, he saw multiple visions. One time when he was on his terrace of his house, he saw a vision coming from across the Jalangi, a strange illuminated province. And then he found out the local people mentioned that this is where it is believed that Lord Chaitanya appeared. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, being a thorough research scholar of a research bent of mind, he did not accept it straight away. He dug out the old gazettes, the maps, the survey reports going back hundreds of years, which were documented and preserved in different libraries and government offices, and finally pinpointed the location where where Lord Chaitanya had appeared by taking the help of Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. By taking the help of Jagannath, but he was able to pinpoint the exact location where Lord Chaitanya appeared. But like I said, it's not just where Lord Chaitanya appeared, but the entire philosophy of Lord Chaitanya is also revived by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Entire philosophy. Otherwise, had it not been, in fact, many of the scholars compare Bhaktivinoda Thakura to Vyasadeva, because he also wrote 100 books. And it said that every word in his book is almost as pure, as potent, as powerful as in the Vedic scriptures. As powerful as in the Vedic scriptures. 100 books he has written. Like Vyasadeva also compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Upanishads, the Puranas, and the Mahabharata. In a similar fashion, Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote extensively on the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. Jaiva Dharma, Harinam Chintamani, more than 100 books he has written. Chaitanya Shikshamritam, etc. It is said he is compared with Vyasadeva because just as Vyasadeva had a son, Sukadeva, it is said that Bhaktivinoda had a son, Bhakti Siddhanta, who was just like Sukadeva Goswami. Whatever the father started, the son carried forward to a perfection. Completed whatever the father started. So it is said that this analogy of Vyasadeva and Sukadeva Goswami fits perfectly with the analogy of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta. So Bhakti Siddhanta was a firebrand preacher. Whatever work Bhaktivinoda Thakur started, Bhakti Siddhanta carried it forward with much more aggression and conviction. Because by that time, the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya had already been established by his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, such a great soul, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's not possible actually to talk about. I was just reading a condensed version of a condensed biography. The original biography, condensed once, condensed second time. Even that runs into 50 to 100 pages. That is the glory of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That are the contributions, monumental contributions. In fact, there's a whole section of that book which discusses and describes the writing style of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. How he writes, how he can make the most ordinary, mundane, spiritual subject appear very exciting, very lively, full of life, and very interesting, very suspenseful, as if it's uncovering a suspense or something like that. He had that style. And it is said that Bhaktivinoda Thakura's writings are so powerful and are small, almost as good as the scriptural writings, because Bhaktivinoda Thakura's writings could transform the heart. And then it is also said, Bhaktivinoda Thakura achieved a very unusual amalgamation of two styles. One style is a Tarka style, which means presentation, philosophically presentation of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. But he also was able to embed emotional dimension into it, if you know what I mean. So there is the philosophical explanation. Let's say you take the concept of soul, karma, Sankhya philosophy, karma yoga, this, that. But imagine you are able to embed the emotional mellows. Mellows means the feeling of love. In fact, the commentary of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhagavad Gita is called Rasika Ranjana. Bhagavad Gita is considered as a book of philosophy. Where Krishna explains Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, different types of Karma Yoga, Yoga ladder, creation, inverted reflection of the spiritual world, modes of nature, action, reaction, nature of soul. So you would think that this is just philosophical writing. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written a commentary on Bhagavad Gita saying Rasika Ranjana. That means if there is a person who likes to relish, enjoy reading about Krishna, reading about the teachings of Krishna, then he can derive that kind of pleasure and happiness, mellow. It's called mellow. Pleasure and happiness by reading the Bhagavad Gita. Ordinary people cannot see where is that juice or where is that happiness or mellow hidden in the shlokas of the Bhagavad Gita. But Bhaktivinoda Thakura is able to present it in such a way that Rasika Ranjana, those people who are only satisfied with books where there is mellow, such as Krishna is dealing with the gopis, Krishna dealing with the gopa friends, Krishna is dealing with his mother and father. All these have feelings. They have to do with feelings. Bhaktivinoda Thakura is able to show that Krishna's teachings of the Bhagavad Gita also are loaded with feeling, encapsulated with feelings. And he is able to unlock it. He is able to unlock the feeling part, feeling dimension. Hence it's called Rasika Ranjana, his commentary on Bhagavad Gita. So it is very difficult to compile or in a restricted manner say what all are the contributions of Bhaktivinoda. It is, today is his Tirobhav. Our connection is Bhaktivinoda Thakura is because he is the father of Bhakti Siddhanta, revived the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, discovered Mayapur, discovered many places connected with Navadvip Dham, established very soundly, philosophically, the philosophical conclusions of Lord Chaitanya. And he is also the father of Bhakti Siddhanta, who is the guru of Prabhupada. And our connection with Bhaktivinoda Thakura is also through his writings. Jaiva Dharma, Harinam Chintavani, Shikshamrita, Chaitanya Shikshamrita, Rasika Ranjana, commentaries on Jaiva Dharma, commentaries on the Sandarbhas. And our connection with Bhaktivinoda Thakura is also through his songs. Through his songs. We sing at least half a dozen songs written by Bhaktivinoda Thakura every day. Starting from, let's say, the Gaura Arati, the Bhoga Arati, Yashomati Nandana, Jai Radha Madhava. They are integral parts of our spiritual life, our daily life, daily routine, the songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. So let us now offer our most humble obeisances to Bhaktivinoda Thakura and seek his blessings that we should also become serious devotees, develop some taste for Krishna, develop conviction, develop all the qualities that are mentioned all the qualities of a Vaishnava that are mentioned and that Bhaktivinoda Thakura glorifies. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Yeah, in 1885 he established the printing press which he called Chaitanya Yantra. He gave a very nice name. He called it the Chaitanya Yantra. Later on, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati established printing press, and I think he called it the Brihat Mridanga. He didn't call it the Brihat Mridanga, But he explained that is Bruhat Mridanga. And the Sajjana Toshini book, which started by Bhaktivinoda Thakura, after at some point of time he gave it to Bhakti Siddhanta and said, now you edit it, you write and edit it. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also carried forward Sajjana Toshini for some years. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments? I think there will be Pushpanjali. Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Would spread to all the world.
Yes, there is a prediction. Bhaktivinoda
Three
Thakura.
predictions on-
Is that your question? Are there predictions? Huh? Yes, what are they? Yes, Prabhu, you can say.
No, you can say.
No, I know of one. Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he is credited in some way of, shall we say, discovering this statement, Prithviche Dotache Nagaradigram. He is credited with having discovered that statement where it is prophesied that there will be widespread expansion of the Hare Krishna movement on a global scale. So there is another version. We chant the Chaitanya Charitamrita version, but there's another version of the same mantra, I mean of the same shloka, which you find in Bhaktivinoda Thakura's writings, where he speaks about it, that there will be a time. And then he also speaks about the appearance of the Adbhuta Mandir in Navadvip, in Mayapur, Navadvip. Emergence of an Adbhuta Mandir. That means a glorious temple which will unite people of the world. And then there's another prediction about how he spoke about the Russians, the Americans, the Germans will dance on the streets of Navadvip chanting Jai Sachinandana. The Germans, the Japanese, the Americans. Nobody believed it. Imagine saying this in 1885, 1889, when India was a country which was under British rule. Imagine someone saying that. Who would believe it? But Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote about it confidently. A day is not far off when such a thing will happen. So as far as I know, these are his predictions, that there will be widespread, there will be the movement of the Hare Krishna movement will spread far and wide. There's Adbhut Mandir, and there will be people who will be dancing and chanting. And then of course, I think there are secondary predictions that there will be that's probably more credited to credited to Bhakti Siddhanta about the revival of Vrindavan Dham, Mathura, Vrindavan, what's it called? Rajmandal Parikrama and Navadip Mandal Parikrama. I don't know exactly whom that is credited to, but may not be Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Yeah, Haribo. You can tell, Prabhu. You in the mic. Is that it? So as of today in Mayapur, it is said that devotees from more than 80 countries are living. We had spoken about the Germans, the Americans, and the Japanese and Russians. So now it's much more than that. More than 80 countries are living. The Chinese have become less because the government is not issuing visas. Otherwise, the devotees, the number of Chinese devotees also would increase extensively. Namo Bhaktivinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate Shri Bhaktivinoda Thakur Tirabha Mahotsav Ki Jai.